I'm sorry if, for those people who want to lick their wounds and have a pity party, this show is not for you today. If you want to talk just about politics, you want to talk about the Republican strategy for 2016, this is not your show today. This is not the one. This is not the place you should be. I am not interested, quite honestly, in hearing the concession speech of Barack Obama. I turned it off. He could be the nicest man in the world. He could be the Antichrist. Doesn't matter to me anymore. I am really, I've been saying to you for a while, and I've been saying it even stronger off air to my business partners and everybody else, I don't know how we survive. If he doesn't win, meaning Mitt Romney, and I didn't think Mitt Romney was the savior. I disagreed with a lot of Mitt Romney's policies, but what I agreed with on Mitt Romney was he was a decent, honest, honorable man. And half of the country doesn't put value in honor anymore, in honesty. It seems half of the country, they voted for assisted suicide. And it's funny because we're talking about actual physician-assisted suicide and then figurative national suicide. So I sat there on my set last night, and what I said, I think about this time yesterday, was I caught myself halfway in the middle of a monologue, and I think I cleared my throat, and I said, I'm biting my tongue here, say things that hopefully I won't have to say tomorrow. But I got up yesterday at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I knew. And I couldn't sleep, and I started to say my prayers. I got up and kneeled down by the edge of my bed, and I knew that, or I suspected, that my mind's not God's mind. And the peace and the comfort that he had given me and so many of my friends was not about an election. God's about a bigger picture than an election or a candidate. God is about the freedom of mankind. God is about the Constitution, which is divinely inspired. Just like those Christians that rolled up the Dead Sea Scrolls and put them in pots. I don't know what happened to those Christians, but they hid them. They hid them and they preserved them because it was important. The Bible was never wiped out, but the people who originally wrote the Bible were. They were scattered. I don't know what the future holds for the country. I don't know what the future holds for business. I don't know what the future holds for the dollar. I could guess, but I will tell you this. Do your own homework. I said over the summer, what really scares me is I'm always wrong about politics. I can't tell you what's going to happen in politics. And in, I guess, my arrogance or misunderstanding of the peace and comfort that I felt in my prayers, that I thought I did understand politics. No, I didn't understand politics, and I also didn't understand God. And I also didn't understand the American people, or at least half of them. But the other half I know. The other half I know. Because I'm just like the other half. There are times that I'm afraid. There's times that I'm discouraged. There's times that I don't want to go on. I said to my wife, and this is what led me to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning yesterday. I had said to my wife, honey, when Mitt Romney is elected, things will settle down a bit and we'll be able to ease up a little bit. I hadn't seen my wife really for more than 5 minutes a day or spoken to her on the phone for more than 5 minutes a day in the last 4 or 5 weeks. I was always on the road. She was on the road. I was busy doing other things. And I went to sleep that night with the comfortable feeling that I believed the lie that I had just shared with my wife, and that was that things will calm down. And when I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I realized, boy, that's not going to work because we have way too much work to do, and we haven't fixed it for that cliff, if you invert that fiscal cliff, or the cliff that we have made for ourselves on almost every front, the educational cliff, the societal cliff, not just the fiscal cliff. If you invert that, it's a mountain, and we hadn't even begun to climb the mountain yet. How could we possibly take the steam out of our shovel? We can't. His work and his glory is is not for a presidential election. It's for the salvation of all mankind. And that requires freedom. So his agenda is freedom. And we have esteemed it too lightly. Last night, literally minutes after the election was called, I went to work, first understanding what we had just witnessed, and then quickly moving into what needed to be done. By 6:30 this morning, I sat in my studio and brought my staff in, and some had red, puffy eyes. Some of it just because they were tired. They're like, "You are a slave driver!" And others were because they had a very bad night. At the time where there is a reason to tell you right now to hunker down, at the time when there is a reason to tell you pull in the oars, pare back to essentials, prepare for the worst, I came in this morning and first thing I said to the president of my company, double down. We're going to double down. As our meeting broke this morning, I instructed my staff to develop a plan to expand. And I ask anybody with business sense to try to grab me by the shoulders right now and say, "What are you, nuts?" But I know I will look you in the eye and say, probably. But it's suicide to sit back. And not just for my company or your company, but for the country. We don't have the luxury of time. I've been telling you for a while, and I've told my own staff, if the president wins, I don't know how we survive. I don't know how we survive the regulation that is coming for my industry. I don't know how we're going to survive the pressure and the tactics, because he has more flexibility now, and they remember their enemies. I don't know how we're going to survive because I won't compromise. I won't make a deal with the devil. And I urge you to hold me to that, because I have a feeling it's going to get tough. My faith in God and the continued promise of this country has led me to take other steps other than to cower, other than to pare down. I thought we would have 2 to 4 years to be able to get this to be a voice of truth. And if you have been following it all on the Blaze, I have stuck a stick in almost everybody's eye in the book publishing world and the radio world, as we are now our own publishers and now our own radio network as well. In the internet world, as we are now, just BuzzFeed just said that we are the equivalent of the Huffington Post in so many words. We're much smaller, but they're AOL Time Warner.